Hello and welcome to the One Take Show, a podcast where we celebrate incredible conversation with some phenomenal people. And I think I've said this far too many times. Having these incredible conversations, producing them and bringing them to you has been the highlight of my life for the past couple of months. And when I started this podcast, never could I have imagined that I would reach a pedestal where I could attract a guest like Mr. Rajesh Kumar. Sir needs no introduction whatsoever. He has provided us with one of the most iconic characters, Rosesh Sarabhai, from the most iconic Indian sitcom, Sarabhai vs. Sarabhai. But what is really fascinating about Mr. Kumar is how he has grabbed the attention of mainstream media towards farming and towards agriculture. He's pushing for smart agriculture, he's pushing for organic farming both in Bihar and Maharashtra. And in this conversation, we decode everything about it. If you like this episode, make sure you like, share and subscribe to the channel. If you have any suggestions or feedbacks, write them down in the comment section or reach out to me. I would love to engage. Hence, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's jump right in. So welcome to the One Take Show. I am so excited to have this conversation and I'm so honored to have this opportunity. I cannot believe in fact that I have this opportunity. I am a huge fan of your work. I think from Sarabhai vs. Sarabhai, one of the most iconic sitcoms that our Hindi industry has ever seen, to perhaps watching you highlight the importance of agriculture and farming and bringing it into the mainstream has really inspired me. And I think this conversation will inspire a lot of listeners, a lot of viewers. So thank you so much for taking time off your really busy schedule and sitting down with me.
Thank you, Kaustubh. It is a great honor, in fact, One Take Show. And I know we were like trying to get in touch with each other for quite long.
Right, sir.
But that's okay. Dera durust hai. Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to create some kind of awareness and bring as many youth as possible in farming so that, नई भारत की नई तस्वीर, बुलंद तस्वीर बन सके. And एक ऐसा ही एकमात्र ऐसा सेक्टर है जहाँ पे, it's a very sad part that especially agriculture में कि not even 1 or 2% of the population in our country ever says that बड़ा होके मेरा बेटा किसान बनेगा. So to bring people and make them aware that agriculture is the best sector to work in, because A, you are close to the nature. Second, to feed billion of people, farmers are magicians, turning the soil and mud into food. And thirdly, there is a huge market because and especially during COVID, people are realizing the importance of food, because जो 6 महीने लॉकडाउन था उसमें लोग सिर्फ सुबह उठ करके कि अभी नाश्ते में क्या बनेगा, लंच में क्या बनेगा, डिनर में क्या बनेगा, आदमी उसी में जूझता रहा. So importance of food in your life is very, that's the only thing which will remain with you till your last day. सब कुछ इर्द गिर्द तुम्हारे खाने के ही होता है. जब बहुत आदमी बीमार पड़ जाता है तो उसका खाना बंद कर देते हैं. जो बहुत तंदुरुस्त होता है तो अच्छा खाना खाता है. So why to ignore, not, I mean, give importance to the people who actually bring that food to your table. So to make people aware and youngsters aware that it's a huge sector where they can invest their energy rather than just running behind something which is all virtual, and this is a real thing. So first the shift was supposed to happen within me to promote these kind of things or to bring it to you or bring a notice to people. So that platonic shift happened exactly 3 years back.
Right.
Exactly, I would say, yeah, because this was the time when I was part of Rally for River and everything was happening. So there, that change because of Isha Foundation and Sadhguru Jagvi Vasudev, that whole change happened within me. And then I wanted to take it from there ahead, because, but ahead in terms of not bring a revolution or bring a change, but at least start something so that people can see. And so first I had to create a thing which I wanted people to see. बिकॉज मैं जा करके प्रवचन करूं कि ये कर दीजिए और पेड़ लगा दीजिए और वैसे कर दीजिए तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. So to make it meaningful, make it so I had to create my own idle farm and everything. So a lot of work went behind that, and years went by. I mean, 3 years now, and so I'm shooting also, I'm working also, I'm farming also, so everything, and I'm giving you interview as well. So
absolutely. I think one of the most remarkable thing that has happened through this shift, or the platonic shift as you say, is आज से पहले I am not sure कभी भी किसी an actor by profession has somehow made a shift so big and so monumental and has actually made their work speak for itself. You have introduced organic farming. You have talked about introducing the smart agriculture in the area in Bihar that you have on various platforms. I've been a huge fan of all your TEDx speeches, and I've followed all your interviews. When we look at that, you talk about a balance. You say that you have not quit acting. Acting is your work, but you still want to do this. What is that like? What is that balance to you?
So I make it very simple, to understand that, see, if we would have been any other creature on this planet apart from human being, our life would have been in, between two lines of, first being born, then growing up, eating, sleeping, procreating, and dying. But as a human, now we are in the evolutionary phase. We are at the top level, right? So for us, there is no top line. So all those people who think it's multitasking, first of all, I don't take it as a task. I take it as a part of me, because it's only us. अगर मैं गधा होता ना तो मेरा काम सिर्फ वजन उठाना होता. अब as a human आप 10 काम कर सकते हैं, और आप अवेयरनेस के साथ कर सकते हैं, कॉन्शियसनेस के साथ कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज नेचर ने इतना कुछ इवॉल्व, इतने मिलियन ऑफ ईयर का एक एवोल्यूशन हैज गॉन टू मेकिंग अ ह्यूमन बीइंग. नाउ व्हाई टू वेस्ट दैट when you can, why to work only for one thing and say that, oh, now here I'm getting paid 5 lakh rupees or 4 lakh rupees for now my life is settled. Where? You're not talking about life, you're talking about the arrangements of life. Now the arrangement of life cannot be life in itself, so life has to be different from what you arrange for yourself. My the chair I'm sitting on is not me. I mean, that's not my life. It's the arrangement, because I can sit here and talk to you. So, but if I start meaningless. So I personally believe that it's us only who can do. If I can give example of our own culture, our Indian culture, where the deities, the lords, the gods, everyone has been shown or depicted with at least 4 to 5 hands. When you talk about Durga, when you talk about Brahma or Vishnu, or all you see so many hands, right, coming out.
Right.
So what does that depict? That depict that as a human you can work on 10 different things, 10 different, that's just the just the way of showing, depicting that you can work on 10 things, but you can work on 100 things. So the right balance is the balance which you are talking about. That balance has to come to you, not to the work which you are doing. If the balance happens between you, then whatever you are doing, if your body is balanced and you are able to walk, right. So अभी हमारे कान का वो जो लिक्विड है वो बैलेंस्ड है, इसलिए मैं और तुम आराम से सीधे बैठ करके बात कर रहे हैं, करेक्ट. और हम लोग को सोचना नहीं पड़ रहा है कि हम चलेंगे कैसे. We are just walking because that balance is there within you, right? So if it is at the physiological level, then it can also be at the psychological level. Right. So when that balance at the psychological level has happened to you, then working in farms or working in studio, it's all same. Right. It's all same, because then you are only concerned about your life, that you want to lead the life which is more meaningful, more happening,
Mm-hmm.
and you just do the things which are, of utmost important, not only to you,
Mm-hmm.
but for the future generation, because
Right.
you are here for a very limited span of time. So if you realize
Absolutely.
your mortality,
Mm-hmm.
if you realize your mortality every day, that, and especially in COVID, COVID has been throwing that mortality on your face and making you, sit at home and scared, and,
Mm-hmm.
that don't come out, otherwise I'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if we are thinking about that, what is meaningful and what is not meaningful is absolutely, in my brain, it works more as a bullshit than anything
Mm-hmm.
else.
Perfect. Right. I think that somehow really sums up how exactly should we look at two different professions. Because from someone who's a bystander, when we look at perhaps acting as a profession and farming, they're just two worlds apart. There is no common ground that we can somehow realize. But you definitely, as you have said, you have not just realized it, you have actually worked with that. But obviously, this gives me an opportunity to ask you questions from two different worlds. But I would first start with the world that we are already talking about, the farming. To introduce our listeners a little bit more about your project and your idea of smart agriculture, could you please tell us what exactly is the idea that you are going ahead with and what kind of farming is it that you propagate?
Okay, so there are two aspects on which I'm working simultaneously again in farming.
Mhm.
So one, I wanted to make a smart village, which was very much my, what do you say, it's still my dream, and
Mhm.
it's still at the dream level, but at least the stone has moved a little bit.
Okay.
So I have a 17-acre farm of my own in Bihar,
Mhm.
and somehow working with my father, and I updated it. I updated it with technology. So my whole idea about farming is marrying the old way with new technology. So
Okay.
bringing two different things, two
Mhm.
ends together, and then so so it's like the whole farming was based on a natural farming earlier. It's only till, only last 30, 40 years when the whole dimension of farming and everything has changed.
जी.
The way we grow foods and everything. So
Mhm.
my smart village वाला concept यही था कि नदी के किनारे की जमीन पे हॉर्टिकल्चर किया जाए,
Okay.
जो कि लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग है कि आप 10 साल, 15 साल, 20 साल पेड़ों से आप कमाई आपकी हो,
Mhm.
और साथ में इंटरक्रॉपिंग हो जो कि कंप्लीट नेचुरल हो, जिसमें हम यूरिया, फर्टिलाइजर, पेस्टिसाइड्स या जितने भी केमिकल्स हैं जो लैब में बने हुए केमिकल्स हैं,
Mhm.
उनकी खपत कम हो जाए, एंड
Mhm.
वी only do farming based on cow dung and cow urine and anything which is natural, not
Okay.
organic also. So I'm saying, because organic comes with products which are again produced in labs only. So
Okay.
कहीं ना कहीं वो organically हो रहा है, लेकिन बनता तो लैब में ही है. लेकिन here I'm
जी.
talking about the natural thing which takes time,
Mhm.
but it makes the soil live and breathe for another 50, 60 years.
जी.
So right now, so we have to understand each and every aspect of it. तो मेरा ये था कि मैं उस पूरे बेल्ट में आज की पद्धति, आज के विज्ञान को, आज के साइंस को पुराने पारंपरिक तरीके की जो खेती है उन दोनों की शादी करवा के उनको मिला दूं मैं, and then change the whole belt into that.
Right.
So but there was a lot of resistance because again, see, farmers have been kept poor all their life, so
अच्छा.
them taking these kind of risks, you need a lot of education.
Mhm.
So then I thought that might as well do it on my farm and then join it.
Mhm.
So right now we are working, so it's been only second year in that, but we have
अच्छा.
progressed a lot. 17-acre farm. My father has worked behind. We both were in sync, so I was updating him and he was implementing it,
अच्छा.
where we planted approximately 10,000 trees of drumstick, and 700-800 trees of mangoes, and
Mhm.
700-800 trees of guava, and 500 trees of Nibu with intercropping, and everything based on cow dung and cow urine. So that
अच्छा.
happened in Bihar. That's happening In the meantime, I took land on rent in Mumbai, and here I planted approximately 20,000 trees of drumstick again.
जी.
Because it's you are planting tree, B, you are also trying to tell people that you can generate business out of it, and that also within a year or two you can generate out of a tree. So
अच्छा.
you just take care of this, and instead of just doing dhan gehu or a staple food thing कि मतलब हमको सिर्फ धान गेहूं करना है या हमको फलाना चीज करना है, उसके अलावा बहुत कुछ है करने के लिए.
अच्छा.
You know? तो उनको एक एजुकेट करना, तो महाराष्ट्र में करना जरूरी इसलिए था बिकॉज एक तो मैं यहाँ पे रह रहा हूँ शूटिंग वूटिंग की वजह से, काम की वजह से, तो मेरे लिए थोड़ा सा एक्सेस इजी है.
अच्छा.
और यहाँ मार्केट स्ट्रांग है, तो चीजें जो मुझे एक छोटे शहर में 10 साल लगेगा करने में, मैं उस चीज को यहाँ पे 2 से 3 साल में पूरा करके, एंड आई कैन टेक दिस पर्टिकुलर व्हाट यू से the whole model across India, and whomsoever wants to jump into it, they can jump because we have prepared the model. Right. So there are two different kind of places I'm working, one in Bihar and Maharashtra. Any which ways the Biharis and Maharashtrians don't go well, as we have heard in past. So I'm trying again to bring them together and tell that being a Bihari working in Maharashtra, and that also getting into the farming, that's another world. So but the response is amazing. I have been speaking to so many locals in Maharashtra, and the place I work in Balgar, there are these guys who are 28, 29-year-old who really want to do something in their life, and they are getting inspired. That's the best thing. So they are not only thinking of building a ghar ya ठीक है मैं generally क्या होता है कि वो लोग का काम वही रहता है, कंस्ट्रक्शन का है या बिल्डिंग रियल एस्टेट का है और फलाने का है. बट नाउ दे आर सीरियसली थिंकिंग अबाउट इट एंड टेकिंग गुड केयर ऑफ द फैक्ट कि यार अरे वाह, मतलब ये भी एक चीज हो सकती है. And the best part is wish I would have got this or understood this 20 years back. The things would have been different. But good 20 years I invested in something else that is making this helpful for me, that I'm talking through you. And I'll be reaching more people through you, so might be more people can join in, and so it's a long process. Yeah, it's a long investment of commitment. It's a long investment of your ideas, but everything is doable. See, agriculture is like completely like an unguided missile जो हर कोई अपने हिसाब से उड़ा रहा है. So हम लोग अपना एक इसरो और नासा बना रहे हैं कि कम से कम इसको गाइडेंस दिया जा सके.
I think that is extremely poetic. There are a lot of things that I somehow will love to unpack, because it is giving so many sort of leads. I am a law student, and when I come across sort of this kind of a model, I am fascinated to know more about this and to learn more about this. All those individuals who are perhaps interested in farming or agriculture will definitely benefit from this. You say, and this is perhaps one of my last questions in this segment, when we talk about farming and agriculture, you say a lot of youth is now being excited about agriculture and the entrepreneurial nature that has been introduced by your model. What do you say when we see all these changes happening around us, like the pandemic or the changes in the market, the industry is changing, the two states, as you mentioned, Maharashtra and Bihar, showing different responses and different availability of resources. At that point, how do you see that? Is this still a viable industry for the youth or the aspirants to perhaps look into and try their hand at?
See, tell me, I'll answer it in a different way. I'll make you answer it to me rather than me telling you pravachan. Have you been to Agra?
Ji.
Okay, so you go to Agra, right? For 2 days, or as a tourist, you go to Agra first for 2 days. What will be your priority there?
Monuments, Taj Mahal, and everything.
Correct.
Natural.
You won't go to their MG Road or SV Road or Falana Road or some colony or some, and you will look into कि यार यहाँ कितनी गंदगी है, यहाँ कितने गड्ढे हैं, अरे यार ये है. You won't, na?
जी.
Correct? So what what did you do? You went to a place as a tourist and you did what was needed or what is required and what is the priority.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand the same thing with the nature of life, that you're here for a stipulated time.
Ji.
What is right and what is wrong? Why are you falling prey to that? You just do what is needed.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So for youth, this thing or that thing, whether it is right wrong का time ही नहीं है.
अच्छा.
आपको अब और pandemic ने आपको बता दिया you're racing against time.
Mm-hmm.
So now is the time to jump into something which is more meaningful to you, that tomorrow if some pandemic happens, you are not sitting at home and trying to commit suicide because you have run out of bank balance.
Okay.
So agriculture was the only thing which was running throughout, right? That's what I've been, saying, that food was the only thing which we were talking about in COVID. कि हमने आज ये बनाया, हर कोई किसी का फेसबुक या इंस्टा देख लो, सिर्फ वो खाना ही बना रहा था. तो उतना खाना बन कहाँ से रहा था? क्योंकि कोई उगा रहा था.
बिल्कुल.
राइट. तो जो उगा रहा था उनका तो बिजनेस चल ही रहा था ना. तो दुनिया में सब खत्म हो जाएगा, लेकिन एक चीज है, फूड जो हमेशा रहेगा. कैसे करना है, क्या करना है, it is also on experience basis. So you don't believe what I'm saying. I'm just telling you to experience it on your own. You know?
Absolutely.
You jump into the farm. जब तक तुम मिट्टी में हाथ गंदा नहीं करोगे, तब तक तुमको कैसे पता चलेगा कि मिट्टी में सांप भी होते हैं और केचुआ भी होता है और अर्थवर्म भी होता है और कीड़े भी होते हैं और इसके अंदर स्पाइडर भी निकल आता है. When you know these things, then you will fall in love with it, because then your own existence as a human being will be of meaning not only to you but to the nature which is just there and which will bloom if we are not there. So if we are there, we need to make it more happening, rather than extracting everything from it. Now is the time to make it beautiful for everyone and at least leave something for the next generation. We are surviving as though we are the last generation on this planet and we are trying to take away all the share with us. No, there are kids, they are lined up. The next generation is already, two generation is already lined up.
Right. I think this kind of an insight is so important for multiple reasons, but the two most important reasons, because obviously the conversation around climate change is absolutely necessary around us, but the second is the needs and the rights or the demands of the agriculturals, or we talk about farmers. There have been agitations across the country. All of this needs the traction, that needs the attention of the media. And I think this kind of a conversation from someone of your experience and your stature talking to us through this medium perhaps can really help us a lot, perhaps, to know about this. And I think this allows me to perhaps touch the other world that you are associated with. And if I do not, I will really be scolded by all my listeners, especially all my friends, if I do not get into that world of yours, which is obviously acting. If I'm allowed to ask, when you started with acting, and before like the big break happened with Sarabhai versus Sarabhai, what was that initial your entry into the industry was like?
No, I had already entered in industry in 98, but from 98 to 99, it was more about what I wanted to do with myself. And so I was part of television industry, which was, growing at that time, because not too many GCs were there, and Doordarshan was the main channel, which people used to watch a lot in 98, 99. Sony, Star Plus and Z, they were just coming up, people, because you had to buy these channels. So not many people could afford, and Doordarshan was free to air. So it was easy to buy television rather than buying the subscription at that time. So I was part of that generation, and so I had worked for a good 5 years before Sarabhai happened to me. So, but so after 5 years of being in industry, then Sarabhai happened, and then the things changed. But things changed not because, not when the Sarabhai was on air, but things happened after it went off air, and for 3-4 years, then it was continuously on rerun, and then slowly it picked up. It took good 3 years to pick up. So now things are I mean, it's just a history, good thing that. So after Sarabhai happened, I mean, and during Sarabhai when it happened, I mean, I never attempted comedy in my life. So for me, it was the most challenging part of my life. Now I consider myself my life as Sarabhai BC and Sarabhai AD. So, so, so things are good only. I mean, now there is another serial which is on air right now, Excuse Me, Madam, which is a very different kind of role I've been doing. So I would say that it's been 2 decades in industry. I still have not decayed.
But I think I kind of speak for everyone when I say that I'm absolutely in love with the dog in Excuse Me, Madam. That golden retriever is absolutely adorable.
I know. All the dog lovers are. So as you love dog, I love nature.
I think at some point of time after this episode, I will also start loving nature and perhaps try to grow that love as well. But there was this very interesting.
We'll speak about it.
Gee, absolutely. And as I was saying, like there's a very interesting conversation that you've had, and I watched it on internet, is when you were trying to explain, and I think this is one of the most important questions with respect to your artistic industry and your artistic endeavors, is that you said that you have two different souls within one body when you talk about Rosesh Sarabhai as a character, and your own person. You say that you feel extremely lucky being a man and giving birth to a different character. What was that, like, really that idea, like having something like a character like Rosesh Sarabhai, who has those extremely poetic personality and has a comic timing which cannot be paralleled by anyone else. So what was that experience like?
See, when I was doing it, the experience was just to get it right.
Okay.
And the whole focus was about getting it right, because you were standing, in front of the 4 stalwarts of industry at that time, Rupali and Satishji and Sumit and Ratnaji. So you had to get your footage. I mean, you had to get your ground stable enough to perform in front of them. So my whole 1.5 year of shooting actually went as a learning. It was like going back to school, or which I might have missed in my life, that I never got myself trained as a professional actor, but I always learned on the job. So that became a school for me where I was paid to be part of,
Okay.
So that was the experience. Post, it became a hit. It had already gone out of my system because it became hit and people started recognizing that work after 3-4 years after it went off air. So, but now, I mean, after after 16 years of it coming and now people talking about. So for me, I treat it as Bharat Ratna, of work. And rest all the works which I've done, like Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan and so on and so forth. So, but this is like an award which I got at a very right age, and thankfully because of that, I feel that because Rosesh will never grow old. There is likely the chance that I will also not grow old. I will die young.
I don't think Rosesh Sarabhai is going anywhere. I'm sure abhi bhi aapko, like, people must come up to you and trouble you with Rosesh Sarabhai sir's poetry. And
I mean, don't take it as a trouble, but this is like recognition. Yeah. So what you have done, what you reap, you sow. That's what the thing, no? Or what you sow, you reap. No, what you reap, you sow.
I think whatever it is, I think.
Yeah. तो मतलब आपका जो अपना कर्मा है ना.
So your video is off. हाँ,
yeah,
it's back.
Sorry.
Please continue.
मैंने कहा आपका जो अपना कर्मा है.
जी.
वही काम आता है.
Absolutely.
So
perfect.
The whole idea.
And I think at the end of this sort of a conversation, as we are coming to the conclusion of this episode, and I'm really sad about this, but I completely understand that I cannot take much of your time, is if you have any such opinions, you have any closing remarks to our listeners who are perhaps watching you and would love to somehow know a little bit about you, get a glimpse of Rosesh Sarabhai, and to learn more about your opinion on farming industry and where the youth should go, any of that sort of a closing remark for our listeners, please.
My only message to the youth is that spend your time not only in, I would say, I mean, I love this quote from Sadhguru where he has said that prepare yourself for universe, not university. It's the universe which will matter to you.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I think that quote says all.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it was, I think this is perhaps one of the most prominent, most prolific, and perhaps the biggest moment for this podcast, and as well as for me. I have had a wonderful,
Thank you,
wonderful time
Kaustubh.
talking
Thank
to you.
you.
I hope you had a good time too.
Yes, yes. समय बहुत निकल गया, मतलब बहुत जल्दी निकल जाता है, पता नहीं चलता अच्छी बातें करने में.
जी, जी, absolutely,
Thank you, and
absolutely.
making it wonderful and amazing questions.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining
Thank
me.
you, Kaustubh.